Well, 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 my dilemma with Betsy. What to do, what to do. Well, let me tell you a little story. Well, here's the situation. Um, I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do with Betsy, if I'm going to actually sink money into her to get her up and running again, because there's been some developments. First off, I started noticing an exhaust rattle, and I got underneath the truck, and actually it was the catalytic converter. So I bought a new catalytic converter, took it to a buddy of mine's muffler shop. He took out the old one. The old one, you couldn't even see through it, and everything was melted inside. So we put the new one on. Truck's much louder than it ever was, or much louder than it's been in obviously years that I remember, because I was even thinking, wow, she just doesn't seem as loud as it used to be. But, it could be my ears. Maybe I'm just too used to the Challenger now. So did the exhaust. Then it threw another code, or it threw a code for me, and it was P1899, which is the park neutral safety switch, which I suspect is going to be in the tilt steering column. The reason being is what would happen is if I tilted the steering column down and then try to start it, nothing would happen. And if I moved the tilt back all the way up to the top, it would fire right up. So I think it's in a wiring issue right underneath the steering wheel. Not a big deal. I can take care of that. It's just been really lacking power, and it's just really weird because I'll give it gas, the RPMs will come up, and it just won't get going. And I've got to change the thermostat in it because it takes until, I don't know, about 240 degrees before it finally opens up. So I bought a new thermostat, going to put that in, and because that's not good for your transmission fluid, and it's not good for the motor and the head gaskets and any of that anyway. Another issue that happened today was the sun just decided to come out. It's been raining. I mean, it's been like a monsoon the last 2 days, but now the sun comes out. So anyway, I was driving it around today because I figured, let me get some miles on it, because it did have a half a tank of bad gas in it. So I did go down to the gas station, filled it all the way up. I've got about 3/4 of a tank left now, and I'm thinking maybe the power problem. Now, granted, it's a little 318, 200 and almost 21,000 miles on it. It's not going to have the same power that it had when I first bought the truck. But as I was driving it around, I noticed, wow, the brake pedal, I'm really having to go far with it. And so I got it back home and checked the brake fluid. It was empty. The reservoir was empty. So I know that brake fluid does not evaporate, especially when there's a lid on top of it. So I fill it up full of brake fluid. Brakes work fine. I'm thinking that maybe I've got a leak at one of the front calipers. I did a brake job about 6 years ago on the truck, and I remember one of the lines was leaking just a little bit, and I kept on snugging it until it finally stopped. Maybe that's where the leak is. Either that, or maybe the rear drums, the little caliper for the rear drums, maybe that's leaking. I don't know. But that stuff I can still fix. My biggest worry is that with the catalytic converter being completely clogged up the way that it was, and the way that the thermostat is sticking, could have heated up the exhaust valves to a point to where they're warped, and it's a loss of compression, and that would explain a total loss of power. So now I'm in a kind of debating stage. Getting the truck up and running to where I could drive it around for a while, 2 more years, and I don't have to do emissions inspections on this truck at all anymore. And then that's when I could drop a nice little Hemi into it and do something. But now I'm kind of stuck at, well, there's nothing I want to do now. And I'm kind of just in a point of how much money do I want to throw into this truck? I mean, I've been offered $1,000. I've been offered $1,200 for the truck. This is before I did inspection on it. This is before I put a catalytic converter on it. Had it welded in. The radiator sprung a leak, so put a new radiator in. And I should have just went ahead and changed out the thermostat while I was at it. But I just let it kind of idle in the driveway, and then when it gets up to temp, and it only sits at 230, 240 for just a little bit, and then it'll drop back down to its normal range. And then it kind of wanders back and forth from like 195-ish on the gauge to like 220, and kind of wander back and forth as it's opening and closing. It's just a little bit disheartening because I had high hopes for the truck. I was really hoping and wanting, God damn, it look like I got sunglasses on. I was really wanting and hoping that it would just be easy stuff and just put the dash top in and clean out the inside a little bit, and then I could work on the paint. It's just that if it's a motor issue, by the time I pull the heads off and get the heads redone and new valves put in on an old motor, I would be better suited just to put a new motor into it or a rebuilt motor. And I just don't know. I'm really hoping that I'm lucky enough that the horsepower problem, I mean, it's just having trouble it feels like I'm pulling a trailer is what it really feels like. And I just hope that it's because of the bad gas. That 3.5-year-old gas that was still sitting in the tank mixed with a half a tank of good gas, that is totally wrecked the octane rating of the gasoline, and it's making it not combust the way that it should. So where I'm at right now with the truck is because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and burn up this tank of gas, refill it up with another tank of gas. I already put fuel injector cleaner into it, put a new air filter into it because I was like, well, let me just look at the air filter. That thing was dirty. So stuck a new air filter into it. I will stick a thermostat just because it needs it. I don't want, even if I do decide to sell the truck, I don't want to pass that problem off to somebody else that they blow a head gasket with it or a hose pops because it got too hot or whatever. So this is this kind of dilemma stage. What do I do from here? I'm really, really hoping it's just the bad gas because I fixed the exhaust problem, the catalytic converter. I fixed the air filter, which, yes, it was horribly clogged and dirty, but I don't think it was choking the motor off that much because when I put the new one in and drive it around, it's still acting kind of the same way. Part of me wants to take the battery off and turn the headlights on and discharge the capacitors in the ECU and then plug it back in and let it relearn a new curve again for the air-fuel mixture. And maybe that will help with some issues. Transmission's been fine. The tires, I can feel when I'm driving 55, 60, that the tires are definitely flat spotted. Not as bad as I thought, but they're definitely flat spotted. So tires is another component that you have to add in. So by the time that you add in, I've already got $162 in the catalytic converter. My buddy charged me $40 to weld it up. $9 in the air filter. I think $7 on the thermostat. $150 on the radiator. Gas, registration, inspection. My last video said that it was inspected, and now I've got registration. So at least from the registration standpoint, I'm good through January of 2021. I've kind of taped up the dashboard here, this trim, because it was like flopping around a little bit. I know it's kind of ghetto, kind of rigged up, but you know, it's just to drive and see how much of a headache I'm actually getting into with this truck. So, a little disappointing, because old Betsy, I bought her brand new in 1997 off the showroom floor. And she's seen better days. The last 3.5 years, shame on me, should not have left her sitting out in the sun the way I did. But no one to blame but myself. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'll do a video driving with it. I'll probably put either a dash cam up, or I'll mount up a GoPro up on the window just so you can. I may put two up since I got a bunch of GoPros. I may put one up on the passenger window and then one on the driver's side window, just showing what's going on with the dash and the instrument cluster, and then that one kind of showing me, and just give you a little rough idea what it sounds like. And oh, another thing, when I roll the windows down, they come down and all of a sudden the front part just dives down. And same thing on the passenger side. So I think part of the track has come undone for the front portion of the electric windows. So I can get the window down to about here, no problem, and it stays right where it's at. Anything past that, then it starts, like I said, starts nose diving. So it's been a long day. Long day. Been throwing, like I said, you know, it's almost to a point of good money after bad on this truck. And if it wasn't an emotional tie to the truck, then I would, you know. But there is an emotional tie, but I'm also a rational person. So if the engine sorts itself out because it's just bad gas, and that's what a lot of the issue is, that's fine. If there's one or two valves that are burnt on the exhaust side, I'm okay with that because I'm not getting any engine vibrations, so nothing's like really firing out of balance. So I guess this all just kind of wraps down to I'm going to put a thermostat into it this weekend and at least get the cooling situation sorted out. And I'm not going to drive it until this weekend because I'd figure, you know, it's not good for it to be running hot. But after I burn through a tank of gas and put the second tank in, I'll probably wait till I get about halfway through the second tank. And if it's still acting the way it is, I'm going to sell it. And if it clears itself out a little bit, then there'll be some more progress updates. But anyway, kind of a somber day regarding old Betsy. I guess I feel just a little bit defeated because there's just like, I should have known better. I mean, when a vehicle sits for, you know, a number of years not driven, you're going to have some problems kind of start up. And in my case, I've had a lot of problems start up all at once, and it was just like, whoa, catalytic converter, this. The brakes are a little bit concerning, so I'm going to get underneath it tomorrow after I get off work and jack it up and take a look at the brake lines on the front calipers and see how they look, if they look wet, and try to cinch them down a little bit, and hopefully that's all it is. But just a little update for those of you that are interested in what's going on with old Betsy. So until next video will be a driving around video anyway in the truck. And hopefully the video after that will be a good news video of how I'm going to progress with Betsy. Or it's going to be a video of somebody driving off with Betsy. I don't know, one of those two. Hope you guys have a good day, all right? I'll talk to you later. Bye. Isn't that terrible when you just lose track of what the hell you were talking about?